Sam Altman says AI will make us all unimaginably rich. He also says it might kill us all. Jensen Huang claims his new chips are quantum leaps forward, but also that his old chips never lose value. Dario Amodei predicts AI will replace half of all entry-level jobs in just a few years, while his own company's data shows it's mostly just helping people work faster. What's going on here? Simple. The people building AI have set expectations so impossibly high that the technology can't help but disappoint us. It's probably no surprise to anyone following AI in 2026, but general sentiment around AI is poor and getting worse. In the US, 50% of all respondents to Edelman's annual trust survey said they didn't support the growing use of AI. Further, only 35% of US respondents said that they trust AI companies, which is 8 points lower than just a year earlier. 57% of US individuals surveyed said they are concerned that widespread AI adoption could be harmful to people. AI also has a commercial viability problem. A recent BCG study finds only 4% of companies have mature, cutting-edge AI at scale that consistently generates significant value. Another 22% are starting to see substantial gains, leaving about 74% with little to no tangible value so far. One widely cited MIT study notes that US enterprises spent roughly $40 billion on AI systems in 2024, but estimates that about 95% of companies saw no measurable bottom-line impact, largely because pilots never scaled, adoption lagged, or use cases weren't tied to P&L metrics. BCG finds that across sectors, most of the captured AI value so far clusters in a few functions: sales and marketing, customer service, and R&D and research-intensive industries like biopharma and medtech. To me, the now infamous MIT study showing a 95% failure rate of corporate AI introduces a fundamental question. Are we expecting too much from AI? Have our expectations outrun the technical or practical capability of the technology? That MIT study makes it sound like it's AI's fault the projects failed. It's far more likely the companies were simply inept when it came to creating the conditions and environment for those projects to be successful. Large companies are infamously bad at deploying new technologies. But there are a couple of examples where AI was the underlying problem. McDonald's ended an AI drive-through ordering system after widespread misheard orders and customer frustration. The tech couldn't handle real-world accents, noise, and edge cases. MD Anderson Cancer Center abandoned its IBM Watson program after spending tens of millions of dollars to trial the AI technology, but never went live for clinical use, in part because recommendations were inconsistent and integration into workflows failed. The track record for commercial applications is poor by almost any measure. This disconnect between expectations and outcomes isn't limited to the corporate world. A Norwegian user discovered that ChatGPT confidently fabricated a story accusing him of murdering his 2 children and being imprisoned, mixing real-world personal details with a completely false crime. Legal domain testing at Stanford found general-purpose chatbots hallucinated as much as 82% of the time on legal queries, which is consistent with widely reported incidents, like a New York lawyer submitting briefs with AI-invented case citations. Technical evaluations show some newer reasoning models have higher hallucination rates when summarizing information about individuals. One OpenAI model hallucinated in nearly 50% of those tests. It just made stuff up. A review of AI hallucination risks in health and mental health context documents chatbots giving dangerous guidance, including therapy bots recommending a recovering addict take, quote, a small hit of methamphetamine to get through the week, end quote. These experiences aren't limited to extreme cases like these, but mostly in the mundane, everyday disappointments that accumulate over time. According to SurveyMonkey, many users admit they like AI for quick, low-stakes tasks, but feel let down when they try to rely on it for nuanced problems, personal issues, or anything where accuracy and empathy matter, which is where dissatisfaction spikes. There's one specific group driving this hype train off the rails at maximum speed: the AI CEOs themselves. These aren't naive entrepreneurs who got caught up in their own enthusiasm. These are sophisticated executives who understand exactly what their technology can and cannot do and choose to oversell it anyway. I'm talking about Jensen Huang, Sam Altman, and Dario Amodei. All of them, without exception, have figuratively painted AI as the end-all, be-all technology. It can solve world hunger, deliver peace in our time, and make everyone rich, and what's more, it's dead simple to use. They've promoted the upside of the technology so much that it's nearly impossible for AI to meet the hype. Given any opportunity, Jensen Huang will talk about how his latest Nvidia chips will be faster, more efficient, and based on some creative accounting, how Nvidia's rented GPUs never depreciate in value. When questioned how Nvidia can rent chips that don't degrade in performance and don't depreciate in value, while also telling customers purchasing GPUs the latest chip is a quantum leap forward over the last gen chips, we get word salad as he pretzels himself around a narrative that collapses on itself. Either the old chip is outmoded or the new chips are unnecessary. Pick a lane, Jensen. You know, one of the best ways to support small YouTube channels is to subscribe to the channel. So if you're enjoying this content and like to see more of it, consider subscribing. Back to the episode. Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, has drawn my personal criticism lately for being the biggest AI windbag, having said that 50% of all entry-level white-collar jobs will be replaced by AI within a few short years. And at Davos, Amodei was quoted saying AI is 6 to 12 months away from taking over software engineering jobs, implying that Anthropic models are already close to being good enough to replace many human programmers. At the same time, Anthropic's own economic index based on millions of Claude chats finds that so far, AI is mostly augmenting work rather than replacing full jobs, which makes his public timeline sound especially fictitious. Sam Altman, who may be the poster boy of the AI hype machine, has publicly said such outlandish things like, quote, AI will make everyone unimaginably rich, end quote, while also saying, AI might kill us all. Sam continually contradicts himself while speaking in hushed tones to show how thoughtful he is. It's the wildly optimistic statements he continues to make about what AI is and its near limitless future capabilities that I take exception with. At an MIT event, he described AI as potentially the biggest, the best, and the most important technology revolution ever, beyond electricity, the transistor, the computer, or the internet. In public settings, Altman has described what OpenAI is building as, quote, a kind of brain for the world, end quote, emphasizing that it will sit behind tools people use every day and help them think, plan, and create. In case you don't speak nerd, Sam's intimating OpenAI is already operating in a way that simulates artificial general intelligence, something it definitely isn't doing. And as of now, none of the hyperscalers have cracked the code on AGI. And in case you don't know, AGI is Godzilla, the Holy Grail, Fountain of Youth, Sasquatch, The Missing is a Brooder film, and Points of Singularity all wrapped up in one technology. It's when AI basically becomes sentient, like Skynet and the Terminator movies. It's no longer inferring anything, it's actually thinking and creating. And yes, that's as frightening as it sounds. But more importantly to my central argument, it's this constant overpromising of what AI is, what it can do, and how it will change someone's life that sets the bar impossibly high, ultimately leading to the average user feeling frustrated, scared, or even angry. Most people use AI infrequently, and because they are bombarded with a promise of AI's utility and speed, think they can throw a random set of terms into an AI chatbot and produce the next great American novel, or type some coding prompts in Sora and create a masterpiece to rival the latest Wes Anderson film. We expect too much, so we were repeatedly disappointed and over time become more skeptical about the promises of AI, all because AI leaders have made obviously self-serving, hyperbolic statements about what AI can do now or what it will be able to do in just a few short years, creating expectations that can't possibly be met. And why? Because these hyperscalers may be well and truly screwed. There's a reason you keep reading about an AI bubble. Investors have poured money into these companies with almost blind faith they can create a business model that generates a profit, despite the cost these hyperscalers will incur to realize their potential growth. This is CapEx on a scale we've never seen. AI company valuations and PE ratios have set the companies up to fail. They're forced to promote these fever dreams of superpowered capabilities, all to keep their shareholders from realizing the increasingly narrow path to success. The math just doesn't work, despite the near-endless fawning rhetoric of these jokers. AI data centers are taking 7 years to permit. Local communities are pushing back against these data centers even being built. Local utility companies can't supply the power estimated for these centers. The water consumption needed to cool the equipment is beyond most actual service capacities. To put a finer point on it, it's estimated global energy production needs to increase as much as 30% just to meet the current demand of AI data centers. This doesn't include future demand, which is expected to explode in the next 10 years. AI technology is undeniably powerful, and it's easy to see how we all got a little carried away by hype. I believe in the potential of AI and where it's going, but I'm routinely disappointed in how the Huangs, Altmans, and Amodeis of the world can't suppress their constant outbursts, painting AI as more capable, powerful, unique, or utilitarian than it currently is. To a degree, I understand that. Innovation has always been talked about in terms of potential, not probability. It's all a crapshoot to some degree, and these guys are far from the only people out kicking their coverage. But it's hard to make it a week without seeing one of them offering some insane quote, furthering unrealistic expectations around AI. Now, to be fair, the CEOs aren't entirely to blame here. We've made it easy for them. Every breathless headline about AI revolutionizing some industry, every reporter who uncritically platforms these predictions without pushback, every LinkedIn influencer posting about how AI will 10x your productivity, they're all complicit in building these impossible expectations. And so are we. Users need to get smarter about this technology. It means asking basic questions. What's this AI actually trained on? What happens when it's wrong? Can I trust its output? It also means recognizing our own role in this hype cycle. When we share AI-generated content without fact-checking it, when we assume the chatbot knows what it's talking about just because it sounds confident, when we blame ourselves for not prompting correctly instead of questioning whether the tool is fit for purpose, we're enabling the problem. The media literacy skills we develop for social media, checking sources, spotting manipulation, understanding incentives, those same skills apply to AI, maybe even more so. AI doesn't just spread misinformation, it generates it on demand, in your own voice, customized to your biases. We can't afford to be passive consumers of this technology, not when it's being integrated into everything from hiring decisions to medical diagnosis to content moderation. So what do we need to do about this? How do we get off this hype treadmill? First, we need to reframe what AI actually is. It's not magic, it's not yet sentient, it's a statistical prediction engine that's really good at pattern matching and inference. That's it. Once you understand that, the limitations become more obvious. Companies need to stop treating AI adoption as a binary pass-fail test of innovation. Start small. Identify one repetitive, data-heavy task where mistakes aren't catastrophic. Test it. Measure it. Then scale it only if it works. This isn't sexy, it won't generate headlines, but it's what actually creates meaningful value. For consumers, the filters should be simple. Would you trust this AI to do something you'd normally pay a professional for? If the answer is no, adjust your expectations accordingly. Use AI for brainstorming, drafting, organizing, tasks where pretty good is a good starting point. Don't use it for legal advice, medical decisions, or anything where being wrong has significant consequences. And in the name of whatever deity you choose, we need transparency. Every AI company should publish failure rates, hallucination benchmarks, and exactly what their models can and cannot do. Not in some buried technical paper, but in plain English, right on the product page. As I said a minute ago, I have been critical of Dario Amodei, specifically because he says some really dumb shit. But he did something this past week that felt, to me, redemptive. He wrote a long essay, too long really, talking about the dangers and, yes, limitations of AI as it moves through its, quote, adolescent period. He covers a lot of ground, and while he'd never couch it this way, seems to concede that we should have some guardrails around how we use AI. For once, he seems to be walking back some of the more over-the-top predictions he's made around AI, Anthropic, and Claude. So, good job, Dario. And I hope more of these leaders adopt Dario's approach here, because the stakes around AI technology are different than previous tech bubbles. When the dot-com bubble burst, we lost some money and some jobs, but no one stopped using the internet. The underlying technology was real, and it transformed how we work, communicate, and live. Same with smartphones, same with cloud computing. But AI is being woven into critical infrastructure before we figured out if it actually works. It's making hiring decisions, moderating what we see online, diagnosing medical conditions, determining who gets a bank loan. The danger is that we'll deploy half-baked systems at scale, watch them fail spectacularly, and then overcorrect so hard that we disavow the technology. We're at a crossroads. One path leads to a measured, realistic integration of AI where it actually helps, automating drudgery, augmenting human capability, solving problems humans genuinely struggle with. The other path leads to disillusionment, backlash, and potentially decades of regulatory gridlock that prevent us from using AI even where it makes sense. Which path we take depends on whether we can collectively get honest about what this technology is and isn't. That means CEOs need to stop promising the moon, investors need to stop rewarding them for it, media needs to stop amplifying it, and users need to stop accepting it. The good news? We've seen this play out before. Every transformative technology goes through this cycle: unrealistic hype, spectacular failures, and eventually maturation into something useful, maybe something powerful. AI is an undeniably useful tool when applied to the right problems with realistic expectations. But we're never going to get there if we keep pretending it's something it's not. That's it for this episode. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.